A few months ago, the senior class got an email about doing a senior sage, and I immediately knew that I wanted to do one. I wanted to share something that I felt was not often talked about or considered from a student's perspective, and is what I needed to hear throughout my time in Shady Side. My name is Sophia Stafford, and this is my senior sage. It is safe to say that some students, including myself, experience academic pressure during their 4 years at Shady Side. This could stem from pressure from parents, feeling like you're not good enough, or your own drive to get into college. In my case, it has been comparing myself to others and my motivation to get into college. Students are held to a very high standard to maintain excellent grades, do well on standardized tests, and get into top colleges. During my junior year, this endless talk about college among students and peers got to my head, and I became obsessed and started hyper-focusing on the college admissions process. Like many of us, I'm someone who puts too much pressure on myself and has struggled with academic validation since my middle school years. It had gotten to the point where every grade I received determined my self-worth. During my junior year, I'd taken biology, which was extremely challenging for me, and I was not succeeding like I had hoped. I'd put so much effort into improving my grades in this class, and I felt the need to not only prove to my teacher, Dr. Schumacher, because she was working so hard to accommodate me and help me succeed, but to myself as well. While I was struggling, it seemed like everyone in the class was acing every assessment. There were multiple occasions where I heard classmates complain about getting an A- on a test while I was getting a C. I believed that harder work equated to higher grades, but no matter how hard I worked or how much time I put in, nothing seemed to work and I wasn't succeeding. My self-esteem was at an all-time low, and I had never seen myself in such a negative light. To me, my academic achievement became a reflection of my self-worth and how I viewed myself. I constantly made myself feel inferior compared to other students, and I felt like I didn't belong here or didn't have what it took to excel as a student at Shady Side because I was not getting straight A's like I thought everyone else was. Looking back on that experience, not receiving the grade I worked for wasn't a reflection of my intellect or my character. At the time, I thought it was the end of the world, and in my head, I thought I was such a failure. I failed my teacher and my parents, and most importantly, I thought this grade wouldn't look good on my high school transcript when I applied to college. I got caught up in everyone talking about GPAs, test scores in college, and by me getting distracted by that noise, it made my time more difficult than it needed to be. Because of how caught up I was in my grades, I was selling myself short. Had I not been doing this, I would have enjoyed my experience here at Shady Side more, and I would have appreciated it more by living in the moment, and ultimately, I would have been so much happier. Instead, I was set on getting into college so I wouldn't continue to feel this internal pressure that I'd been experiencing for so long. Getting caught up in this made me forget the true meaning of education. As students, we don't come to school to get good grades. We come here to learn and grow intellectually, which I think students can tend to forget. While many students here completely meet the standards and expectations of maintaining perfect grades and doing well on standardized tests, those standards are not as attainable or realistic for many students here as well. Once I realized that, I started to have much more compassion for myself and for others. As I've reflected on my past 4 years of high school, I wish I spent more time enjoying my classes and fostering relationships with my teachers and peers instead of obsessing over my grades. I wish that I could go back and tell myself that everything would all be okay. Don't get me wrong, academics and working hard are so important, but not at the cost of your own self-esteem and ultimately your mental health. If I could give an underclassman any advice, it would be to enjoy school instead of putting so much pressure on yourself. These 4 years go by in a blink of an eye, and I wish that I realized earlier that it would all be okay and started to give myself more credit for how hard I was working. I know that this message might not resonate with some people, but I do know that many of you can relate to this and have experienced this. I hope that anyone who is doubting themselves or feels like they aren't succeeding while everyone else seems to be knows that they are not alone. Thank you.